Good afternoon, everybody. Am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Let's start shortly. Is the screen visible to you right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
It's visible.
Okay.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Welcome, everybody, to this workshop session. This session will be on interview skills. This will be a short session, an hour long session from 5 to 6. Okay. We will have the rest of the session. Interview skills will be covered in two sessions. Today's will be our first one, and tomorrow, during the same time, we'll have the second half of our interview skills session. I hope that this will be useful to you, not just from the perspective of the course that you're covering now, but also from a larger perspective of when you will need to attend an interview, face an interview panel, and present yourself as the most fitting candidate for any advertised job position. Okay? Without much ado, let's start with the session for today. If at any point you're unable to hear me or if the screen is not visible to you, kindly stop me either by unmuting yourselves or by sending a message. My name is Teza, by the way. I will be facilitating this session for you. And this is the million dollar question. Why do we have interviews in the first place? Whatever you do, be it a job, be it a scholarship application, be it the last leg of a competitive exam which you have already cleared, we have to. Any concerns? Is everybody all right? Okay. We have to be able to face a panel of interviewers at some point or the other in our lives. It is inevitable. Given that an interview is inevitable in our lives, it is well for us to be prepared in anticipation of this event called an interview so that we do not sit up twiddling our thumbs if and when we need to face an interviewer. Let's imagine that you've applied for a job and you, as data scientists, all of you have dream companies, dream job positions, which you always tell us through your written assignments. This is my dream company, this is my dream job, this is what I am aspiring to get at a later point in my life. Let's say you've applied to that dream job and you get a call for an interview. Obviously, you're going to be very nervous. So it's well for us to be prepared to know what it is that we are going to be doing after we receive that interview call in preparation for our approaching interview. The first step is to gain clarity. When I say gain clarity, I do not mean gaining clarity in terms of subject matter. I mean that we need to have some amount of clarity as to why we are applying for this position and how we might be the best candidate available to fill that position. In order to gain this clarity, there are two steps that we need to follow. The first step is to be able to assess or reassess yourself. Almost always we are very self aware. We know what our strengths are, we know what our weaknesses are. But at this point, it is important to be able to have a reassessment of yourself. You need to know what are your non negotiables. Non negotiables are things on which you will not compromise. I come from a different background entirely. I come from a background of English language and literature. There are things that are non negotiable to me if and when I apply for a job. I need to be doing something that is in relation to English or English literature. I'm not willing to stray from my core area of expertise. That is a non negotiable. You should also be able to identify what are the things that you very strongly bring to the table or offer to your employer when you make this application as a candidate. Okay? All of you have certain strengths, certain qualities which set you apart from all other candidates in a mix of applicants. Okay? You should be able to identify and highlight these strengths in front of your employer. Let's imagine that one of your strengths. Now, this is a communication skills workshop. So let's imagine that one of your strengths. Just a second, someone's seeking entry. Let's imagine that one of your strengths is communication. You are very good at lucidly communicating your ideas to your team members as well as your superiors, your managers, anybody from a board, you don't know, anybody that you need to communicate your ideas to, you are able to do that in the best possible manner. A lot of the time, data science students, your ideas are filled with jargon. And it's very difficult for a layman to grasp these ideas, which might be the best ideas available, the most creative ways or suggestions that you have to offer. And yet, you might not be able to convey all of that to somebody who is not familiar with the jargon that you are using. Okay? In this scenario, if communication is your strong suit, then you will be able to present that in front of your interviewer. You can tell them that you are capable of lucidly communicating complex data driven solutions to a layperson. Okay? That is a great skill that a data science student can have. But the important point here is that unless you recognize, identify this as your strength, you will not be able to present this as a strength in front of the interviewer. So while you reassess yourself, you need to know that this is one of your core strengths, and therefore you can leverage your application or leverage your interview on the foundation of this particular skill. Lastly, you should be able to see whether you align or fit with the company and the job description at hand. When you apply, obviously you apply on the basis of any advertised job. So there would be a job description. A job description typically contains all the responsibilities that you will have to handle, all the things that make you eligible for this particular job, and all the other qualities that are expected out of you as a candidate or as an employee. So you should be able to see whether this is a job description that you can embody, whether you can, sort of suture yourself into that particular job position and succeed at it. Okay? So there are small things. Self-starter, for instance. Are you a self-starter? Given a task, are you able to pursue the task and drive it to conclusion without further prodding? Are you a self starter? You should be able to ask yourself these questions and gain clarity as to whether or not you stand as a strong enough candidate in terms of this particular application. You can also do a significant amount of company research. Now, this I'm sure you would already be doing. You're all very passionate about certain companies. You're all very passionate about certain jobs. So you would know a great deal about the company even without doing any particular research prior to your interview. Nevertheless, it is always advisable to do some company research as you prepare for an interview so that you can clearly identify what the company values are. What is the work culture like? If there is going to be a particular person that you will be answering to, like a supervisor, or if you know somebody from the team into which you will be hired, it is going to be very helpful to have a background check on these people or even get in touch with these people so as to be able to once again gain clarity as to what it is that you are entering. What kind of a race are you starting here? Okay? Now, this is the first step. And this is a very important reminder. A job interview is not a battle, it is quite simply a task of communication. It is not a battle that you need to conquer, it is just a task of communication on the basis of which you will be assessed. So you can give a stellar interview and be hired, even though your CGPA is a little on the low side. But even if your CGPA is very high, if your interview goes poorly, then you will most certainly not be hired. That is where an interview is the make or break factor. Okay? Pre interview prep. In what ways can you prepare for an interview ahead of the interview? That is pre interview prep. You should know your resume inside out. You should know your cover letter and the job description through and thoroughly. Okay? Now, these are three words that are very important. JD is job description. We've already discussed that. A resume, I'm sure you're all aware of what a resume is. A resume gives a quick summary of who you are as a candidate, what is your educational background, what are your major skills, what sort of positions have you handled so far, etc. Okay? A resume gives a short account of that. A cover letter is your pitch. You almost always send a resume along with a cover letter. A cover letter is how you pitch yourself as a candidate in writing. So, in a lot of ways, a cover letter is a precedent to your interview. What you will be doing in an interview can be something that builds off of your cover letter. It's a very helpful kind of step to be able to imagine your cover letter as a precedent to your interview. So, your cover letter does not just have the things that are there in your resume. Rather, in your cover letter, you are showing your employer how your resume, on the one hand, and the job description, on the other hand, are aligning. How you can be the best fit for the job at hand. Okay? This is the first step, knowing your resume, your cover letter, and the job description inside out. It is important to know your resume, your cover letter, and your JD because an interviewer can ask you questions from any of these, from any minor point on your resume, from any small remark that you've made in your cover letter. For example, if you have claimed that you are diligent, an interview can almost always, you can expect the question, they can ask you, how is it that you are diligent? Illustrate a particular experience or a particular job instance which has demonstrated your diligence to your employers. Okay? So it is very important to be able to substantiate every minor claim that you have made either in your resume or in your cover letter with the help of examples, with the help of stories and real life anecdotes or instances, so that when you present yourself as a candidate during the interview, you're not presenting a dull resume. Rather, you are presenting a live person with a story to tell who can actually be a contributing member of this particular company. And so the interviewer needs to be able to see that you are more than your resume. A cover letter is one of the ways in which you can do this. What you do or what you say during your interview is another way in which you can do this. You should also be able to anticipate and practice answers to interview questions. Interview questions are very predictable, let's say. You can almost always see through an interviewer's questions. So, anytime you get a question from somebody who is meaning to hire you, you can see through the question and you can identify what it is that the interviewer wants to hear from you. There are certain categories of questions, such as classic HR questions, behavioral questions, hard or tech skills questions, guesstimates, case questions, etc. We'll see all of these in detail as we go ahead. It is very helpful to think of questions under these heads or under these parameters. Uh, because you will find it easier to anticipate an interviewer's mindset. You will be able to put yourself in the interviewer's shoes and thus predict the questions that you might get. Okay? Finally, you can prepare questions to ask the interviewers. When you ask a question to your interviewer, make sure that your question should reflect the fact that you have studied the company in detail. It should not be an inane question. It should not be an uneducated question. It should be a well researched question. Okay? In some way, you should be able to demonstrate to your interviewer through this question that you are very familiar with the mission and the values of this particular company, that you are extremely or acutely aware of the roles that you will be handling in this particular job position. And so you are asking a very pointed question, a pertinent question. Okay? This will increase how the value that the interviewer attributes to you as a candidate. Because you're not there as an unaware candidate. You're not just testing your luck. You are actively responding to the job description after having done thorough research. Okay? And that is a very valuable thing to take to an interview. I apologize for that minor interruption. Right. Any questions so far? I know that this is a very inconvenient sort of communication medium. My video is switched off. All of you might be engaged in some other activity. I can understand that. Yes, Bishwajit, you have a question? Go on.
Yeah, ma'am. How to answer such questions like when interviewer ask tell me about yourself or just introduce yourself. Well, from where to start? Like,
That is a very good question, and that's exactly what we are coming to in the next slide. Okay? We'll answer as we go along.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay. When I say that you need to know your job description inside out, that you need to know your resume inside out, what I mean is that when you are hunting for a job, you will be making multiple applications. So, in a way, you'll be inundated with JDs. Okay? So, you need to be very aware of what job description is it that you're applying to. You need to have that saved It shouldn't get lost somewhere in the deep internet. Okay? You should have your job description at hand. And I hope you already know that we always modify or edit our resume to fit certain job descriptions. So you need to also have that exact resume at hand. It so happened to me once that while I was applying for a job, I had included the name of the company and the position to which I was applying in the title of my resume. And without checking, without being very thorough about it, I sent out the same resume for multiple job descriptions. And that is an immediate negative mark on my candidature, right? Because my resume clearly states that I am not interested in the job description to which I am applying. Harshita, okay, one second. Yeah. We have already covered the need to have sufficient backup or sufficient corroborations to all the claims that you've made in your resume or your cover letter. You should be able to put yourself in your recruiter's shoes and find out anything on your resume that an interviewer might possibly pick up on. If, for example, you're applying for a teaching position, any prior teaching experience can be called up for further discussion. Okay, so you should be able to anticipate that. Now, to get to Biswajit's question, and how can we anticipate questions and what sort of questions should we anticipate? Classic HR questions. The question that Biswajit pointed out, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? That is a classic HR question. Now, the thing about a classic HR question is that it will look very innocent. It will look like it's just an icebreaker. It doesn't mean anything more than that. But that is absolutely not true. Almost always, this is the first question that is shot at you. Okay? And your answer to the first question will determine the track of the rest of the interview. Because an interview is not a preconceived, fully channeled out program. It is very much an act of communication, a conversation. Okay? So, how you set the tone for the rest of the interview is very important, and it is almost always done by an answer to this particular question. Behavioral questions require you to imagine yourselves in a particular situation and they assess your response to that particular situation. Hard skills questions are those questions which analyze the skills or the technical know how that you bring to the table. Then there are questions that catch you off guard, questions for which you cannot prepare. Okay? And there are any number of questions that can catch you off guard. For example, let's say somebody asks you, what is your favorite TV show, for instance? And if you are somebody who really likes to watch cartoons, you say the name of a cartoon. Maybe Motu Patlu, okay? That might be very childish, but that's what you say, okay? And then the interviewer, let's imagine, asks you, is this an instance of body shaming? You're not expecting that kind of a question, right? Because your answer was very innocent. It's a very clear cut, black and white scenario for you. It's not an instance of body shaming, right? So you need to be able to give an answer which shows the interviewer. I mean, you can clearly see that the intention of the interviewer is just to see how you will defend yourself. And so you should be able to give an answer that sufficiently defends your stance on this very childish cartoon. But you cannot ever anticipate such a question. I was once asked, I'm a rather lean person. I was once asked while I was there in an interview if I am ill, if I am sick, because my body looks a certain way. It looks very emaciated and lean. So am I sick? Are you going to be a liability to our company if we hire you? I could not have anticipated that question. I can be, thrown off my kilter by that question. But it's very important to maintain your cool and give a sufficiently defensive answer to that particular question, which might catch you off guard. Now, tell me about yourself. The classic HR question, Biswajit's question as well. You can anticipate this question in one form or the other in all interviews, because all interviewers want you to be able to present yourself as something that is more than the sum total of the bulleted points on your resume, right? So they will ask you this question in one way or the other. You should be able to give an answer, and you can thoroughly prepare for this answer because you decide in advance which are the events in your life, in your career, which are the skills that you have amassed, which best fit this particular role and this particular company. The rest of it is easy. You make a story out of it. The most difficult part is identifying what part of your career, what set of your skills are most relevant to this particular interview. That is the most difficult aspect of answering this question. Once you have decided exactly which elements of your career and your skills to incorporate into this answer, the rest is easy. You just need to tell a story about yourself. Like we discussed, this is not an icebreaker question, not an innocent question. You should be able to identify what this company needs. And how do you identify that? By knowing the job description, you will be able to identify the particular need that this company has. And then you should be able to argue that you are the most fitting candidate to fill this need. A formula that you can employ in the case of classic HR questions is present, past, future formula. This is quite simply when you tell the story about yourself, you start from the present. What kind of role are you currently handling? What kind of responsibilities are you currently in charge of? Is there any significant achievement that you have had very recently? You start from the present. Then you go back to the past. How did you get started? What got you interested in data science in the first place? How did you zero in on IIT Madras? How did this degree help you? In what way did your education enable you to fulfill the role that you handle at present? Okay, then we go on to the future. This particular job for which you are being interviewed, that should be your future. So you present your answer such that to the interviewer, it looks like this job is naturally the most logical step in your career hereafter. And therefore, you can make a significant impact to the company, to its clientele, by being a part of this particular company. Is that clear? Vishwajit, answered?
Yes, ma'am. Actually,
Okay.
I wanted to know, ma'am, like if somebody is a fresher, like how should he start, like introducing his skills or his like hobbies or something like that, or if somebody is from experience background, then how should he start from his job background, introducing his job background, or from hobbies or something like that, ma'am? That's why I just precisely wanted to know.
Not hobbies. Keep it professional. Okay? Not hobbies at this particular point. No. You start from all the responsibilities that you handle at present. You move on to the past, detailing how you got to the present. And then you present this particular, that's a lot of presence in a sentence. Okay. And then you claim that this particular job for which you're applying is the best logical next step in your career. If you are a fresher, now this is a strategy that, just one second, Yashvi. If you are, this particular strategy might work better for somebody who has a little bit of experience. You are handling some sort of a role at present, right? So if you are an entry level applicant How do you handle this question? Even if you are an entry level applicant, it's not like you lack all sorts of experience, right? You work with several data analyzing tools. That might be the worst possible way to put it, but you get my point. You work with several tools. You do several tasks. Maybe you've done an internship, maybe you've not. But you have always been engaged in data analysis projects. So you are handling some kind of a responsibility with regard to that particular project at present. Is it safe to assume that? Guys, answer. Is it safe to assume that you are working in the area to which you're applying?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much for answering. So, whatever you have worked on recently, that will be your present. All the education that enabled you to handle this particular task very well, that will be your past. And this particular career opportunity, this particular job to which you are applying at present, that can therefore be your future. Is that clearer now?
Yes, ma'am.
It is best to not mention hobbies in answer to the first question that is asked to you. You can mention your leisure time activities if the interview takes that turn. You should be able to assess the tone of your interviewer, or rather the mood of the panel. Okay? In some cases, the panel will be very somber and serious. In those cases, if you speak about your hobbies, it can be very misfitting in that particular context. So if the interview takes a turn into that kind of a discussion, then you can present your hobbies there. And always, yes, keep in mind what kind of a hobby am I going to give to my interviewer if I am asked what my leisure time activities are. Right? That is a very good way to prepare for the question. Shall we move on then?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I see one question from Rahul Agarwal. For one of the college interviews, I misheard, "How are you?" as "I like you." And I replied, "I like you too. I still think of it every night." Ah, okay. Yes, you should be more attentive, Rahul. It is best to avoid such faux pas in an interview. Yes. You should not mishear your questions. And if you feel like you've misheard something, feel free to ask your interviewer to repeat the question. You could just say, "Pardon?" or "I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Could you please repeat the question?" Right? It's not improper to ask them to repeat the question. It might be improper to give an inappropriate answer to a question because it's very unprofessional, right? So, in such a case, it's always best to pay attention to the questions as much as you can. If for some reason you've misheard something or you fear that you have misheard something, it is best to seek clarification rather than answer on the basis of assumptions.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am,
Who's that?
shall we discuss our achievements also, like what projects we have done, or what like college activities we have like achieved in a college? So I mean, should we need to discuss in that question, ma'am? Tell me
The
about yourself.
answer the answer is yes and no. See, the key here is selection. You can't mention all the achievements that you've had. So you can mention a significant achievement that you've had in the recent past, and you need to make sure that this achievement is relevant to the job description for which you are applying. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am. Got it. I mean, yeah, we need to start from the present, like what we are doing, and then, if necessary, like we have to discuss our like past achievement, professional past achievement, isn't it?
Or educational past achievements. See, there
Yeah.
is something that is always leading up to the present. You're not in the present without a past, right? That is why it is always important to select things. Select the most relevant events or the most relevant achievements from your present. Select the most relevant skills that you have acquired in your past and be able to project this particular job for which you're applying as the most immediate and the most sensible thing for you to do after your present experience, right?
Okay, got it, ma'am. I mean, you mean to say
Okay.
we start from present and then necessary to discuss past also, or we shall start from past or coming to the present? How should
No.
start? How should start?
Present, past, future. Present, past, future. You start from what is immediately present to you. You can mention a relevant achievement in relation to the present. You go back to the past and discuss what are the things that enabled you to make this achievement in the present. Because in a lot of ways, you are discussing your training, your technological know how, your educational qualifications when you go back to your past, right? And then you come to the future or the job to which you're applying. Is that clear now?
Okay, got it, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. There are some other HR questions such as goals or vision. Why are you applying for this particular job? Why are you interested in this particular company? Where do you see yourself in a few years from now? What are your strengths or weaknesses? How would your best friend describe you? I'm sorry for that typo there. What is the most important problem that the industry is facing today? You have gone through the company's website. Now let's look at that. That is a statement. So the interviewer is already assuming that you are there in that interview after having done a considerable amount of company research. Okay, so if you have skipped that step, then you will find it very difficult to proceed through this answer. Which of our ongoing projects are you most interested in contributing to and how? All of these questions, these are not questions with any one objective answer. For example, what are your strengths or weaknesses? How do you answer that question? Can somebody give me a few guesses? And let's forget strengths. Let's talk about weaknesses. I'm asking you, what are your weaknesses? Yes, Yashvi.
Ma'am, we should always begin with a weakness that we are improving upon. So it looks like we are working on all our negatives.
Very good. That is accurate. You should mention your weakness, but you should also be able to say that I am continuously working on it. I have it under control. This is a weakness. I'm very self aware. I know that I have this weakness, but this is in no way going to affect my outcome because I am so self aware and I am relentless and I am constantly working to remedy that particular weakness. Be very persuasive. Okay? Everybody has weaknesses. That is something that we should all know. But not everybody works to remedy those weaknesses. So stand apart as somebody who's constantly working on their flaws. Okay? Right. When somebody asks you why you have chosen this particular company, I'm sure you will have better answers than anything I can imagine, because that is something that I've actually very consistently noticed amongst data science students. You have very clear goals. That is admirable. You have very clear goals and company choices. That is something that I never had. So you will be able to muster up an answer to this question very effectively. But I just want to remind you, you should focus your answer on things like the company's mission, the kind of cultural values that this company stands for, and the kind of customers that this company caters to. Okay? You should be able to align your answer or construct your answer around these aspects of the company so that the interviewer can easily see that if you become a part of their team, you will have a considerable impact on how the company produces results, because all the skills that you bring to the table will be working around the company's mission, the company's culture, and the company's clientele, right? So you will be claiming that you are the best fit for the job. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now let me take a moment. I want you to speak for a little bit before we proceed further. I am going to ask, can I call out names? Are you comfortable with me calling out names?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I will call out names, and if for some reason you're unable to speak, just let me know. Okay, that's fine. If you can't speak, that's also fine. Just let me know, right? Kalyani.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm asking you this question. Why have you chosen to apply to this particular company? Okay, you can imagine your dream company, and I want you to take 2 minutes and prepare an answer, a short answer. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
in 2 minutes, can you tell us that answer?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Kalyani. Now let's find somebody else. Hemant.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Okay, good evening, Hemant. I am asking you, what are your biggest weaknesses? From a professional standpoint, what would you consider your biggest weaknesses to be? And I say weaknesses, so that's plural. So I need at least two weaknesses.
Yes,
Okay?
ma'am.
So
Yes,
you
ma'am.
know how to construct the answer to this question, right? There is a weakness, but you are also trying to improve on it.
Yes, ma'am.
So take
Ma'am,
2 minutes, and after
okay, okay.
take 2 minutes and prepare the answer, and then let us know. Okay?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
I need to ask one more question to another person. Rohita?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What do you think is the most important problem that is facing data science as an industry at the moment? This is my question to you. You can see all of these questions on the screen. Take 2 minutes, prepare an answer, and then can you share the answer with us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much. Why is everybody leaving? Is it because I'm calling out names? Don't leave because I'm calling out names. I just want you to speak, that's all. I'm not speaking because I'm giving all three of them some time to prepare their answers. We will resume our session after one or 2 minutes. Yes, Hemant, you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, regarding my weaknesses, though I have my positive thinking, I have also some weaknesses, and that maybe that are I take some more time on some projects. Okay, to do well in that project, it takes little more time, and that's what I want to improve myself so that the work can be done both accurately and efficiently. And also
Okay,
another uh, what drawback is there, that whatever the project I would like to do, uh, I want to do it on myself, on my means my thinking. Okay, and sometimes I used to neglect my seniors also, because I want what I am thinking. Okay, I want to work on that only. Okay, and that also I think
How are you trying to improve on that?
yes, yes. I also trying to discuss regarding the particular project with my seniors, and after discussing, and final analysis needs to be done. After that only, I will do the project in an efficient manner, I think.
Okay,
Thank
that
you.
was a very good answer, Hemant. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'm sure you heard that answer. Now he identified two of his weaknesses. He also told us how it is that he is trying to correct these weaknesses. Okay, it's not like he's stuck in his ways. Sometimes he does not listen to the advice of his supervisors, but now he is trying to change, right? Now he is discussing his projects with them, he's taking suggestions from them, and that is the right thing to do. That makes work a lot more easy for all the people who are involved in that project, right? Very good, Hemant. Uh, whom did I
Ma'am, can I
first?
go next?
Yes, Rohita, go on.
All right. So, ma'am, firstly, the problems regarding the industry of data science would be the availability of data and its access. So, while there may be a lot of data present, we don't know where it will be available or its authenticity. Also, obtaining such kind of data sometimes may raise security questions. So, it may be government privy or something like that. So, it might not be a very efficient process to gain the data. Secondly, the quality of data. So, in case of the quality, there may be a lot of inconsistencies with the data, like we already study about structured and unstructured data. So, the formats of certain organizations, they may not be consistent with what kind of data we need. So that is one another problem. Lastly, I think data science is a fairly new field, so it takes time for people to get used to the mm, consistencies with it. That's it.
Okay, that was a very good answer, very structured answer. I need to congratulate you on that. You had 2 minutes and you structured your answer so well. Very good.
Thank
But
you, ma'am.
the thing about very good answers is that they
Yeah.
always prompt more questions. So now I need to know what suggestions do you have to correct these issues, these problems that are plaguing the industry?
All right. So, as a data scientist, I think my first rule would be to know the effective tools to fix the quality of the data that I need. While it may be a time consuming process, I think I should be able to delegate the work and be able to take the help of my peers so that I will be able to do the task efficiently.
Huh.
As for the availability and access, um, I should be ready to search through different sources and shorten the process as much as possible.
Okay. Thank you very much, Rohita. Now also have Kalyani. Are you ready, Kalyani?
Yes, ma'am. Actually,
Okay.
I just wanted to tell one thing, ma'am. If
Yeah.
my career, like I have, I did my job. I left my job before 10 years ago. So just
Okay.
I wanted to continue my career um, again. So that's
That's
the
wonderful.
yeah, actually, that's the reason. Like, I felt a little drawback when compared to the new generation people. Here now, they are very talented, competitive, and in every sense, they are forward in every sense, like technologically and knowledge, whatever they have. So, I just wanted to compete with them in the same manner, so I have to do little more work, in balancing
Okay.
with the family. So I just wanted to do my best, like little
Okay.
hard work I have to do. And I as in these 10 years, I what I have learned is actually with a break, so decision taking is not that great, like whenever we have to take a decision for forwarding the company, or for any reason, like if our decisions will go wrong, then uh, that is like a different situation for industry. So in the decision making, I need somebody's help. So that is the
We
drawback.
all need somebody's help, Kalyani. Don't worry.
No, no, no. Actually, I felt like if they have given to decide yourself and do whatever you want, like that, then I cannot, like I may not able to be in a position to take a decision. So that's the drawback I feel, and I will cope up while traveling with you. Like I'll tell like that, ma'am. I don't know whether I'm
Okay.
correct or not.
It's okay. That was a wonderful answer. And it is certainly commendable that you are being so honest in your answer. That's something that we need to take note of. Okay. Honesty is something that an interviewer will always value. Okay. Just a second. Okay. This doesn't mean that we need to say everything about ourselves. We can still be selective about the things that we reveal to an interviewer. Of the things that we reveal to an interviewer, make sure that we are not lying about anything. If there is something that we are a little underconfident about, you should be able to present that underconfidence in the guise of self improvement. At present, I am not too sure of this, but see, that's what Kalyani said also. I hope to grow with the company. I am constantly improving my decision making skills such that I can be a better contributing member of the company, and my growth will be parallel to the growth of the company. That's a very good way of arguing it. Okay, well done. All three of you, well done. And I have a few questions in the chat box. Just a second. Recording available for the session. Yes, the recording will be made available. I think it will be made available in the YouTube channel for the course. If and when I have a link, I'll try to share it. What kind of weaknesses should we tell? Some weaknesses could be deal breakers, like not being a team player, not meeting deadlines, temperament issues, etc. Very true. Very true. Some weaknesses could be deal breakers. Yes. So, you decide beforehand which of your weaknesses are you going to present in front of an interviewer. See, selection is your greatest strength, Pratham. Be selective about what you reveal and be honest about what you reveal. It's not very difficult, okay? You have a weakness. It is not a weakness that is going to remain a weakness because you're constantly working on it, okay? And if, let's say, you have a weakness that is a deal breaker, you most certainly have other weaknesses as well. We are all humans. We have a number of weaknesses. So you leave out the weakness, which could be a deal breaker, and you present a minor weakness in front of your interviewer. Okay? Is that clear now? Okay. I hope you'll remember all of these for that time in your life when you will be facing an interview panel. Okay, right. Let's cover maybe one more slide because we are running out of time. I will try to end sharply by 6. Okay, behavioral questions. Behavioral questions, like we discussed, is a question that requests us to imagine ourselves in one particular situation. We are in that situation and we should respond to that situation. Pay attention, respond, not react to that situation. Reaction is a little more abrupt, less deliberate. Okay? It is very abrupt and it is unplanned and not under control. A response, on the other hand, is well thought out. It is a plan. A response will have a solution as its end, right? So you imagine yourselves in a particular situation, yourself in a particular situation, and then you assess your own behavior in that situation. Tell me about your last internship experience. Was there anything you did not like about it? 1 second. Question. Ma'am, please provide the recording. The recording will be provided. The session is being recorded. The recording will be provided most likely on the YouTube channel for the course. Okay? Yeah. Was there anything you did not like about this internship experience? Tell me about a time when you were tolerant of an opinion that was different from yours. I think this question is directed towards Hemant. Tell me about a time when you were tolerant of an opinion that was different from yours. Tell us about one time you ran into a problem when leading a team. How did you overcome it? How do you deal with uncertainty? What is uncertainty? You don't always have a perfect knowledge about a situation. You don't have all the knowledge that you would like to have in order to find solution to some problem. Even if you put in all of your effort, you're not sure about what outcome it will generate. That is uncertainty. How receptive? Receptive is how well do you receive feedback and criticism? How do you build and maintain relationships in a professional capacity? Now, there are a few things that are to be said about behavioral questions. One, these are tricky. They're very tricky because there are a lot of things that can unintentionally land us in trouble when we are trying to answer a behavioral question. Remember, we are not perfect people, right? Still, we are trying to present a picture of ourselves as the best fitting candidate for a particular job in this interview. So you need to be near perfect, even though you are not perfect as a person. So you think about what kind of qualities are desirable in any given situation. For example, internship experience, something you did not like. Okay? What kind of qualities might be valuable in that particular situation? You should always project yourselves as a positive thinker. You see the positive in everything. You are able to take advantage of all the positives that are offered to you, even though there might be negatives as well. You are persistent. Just because there are negatives, you're not going to give up. See, all of these are qualities. Remember, these are qualities. These are not actions, these are qualities. But your actions should highlight these qualities. You are persuasive. Even when you are in a negative situation, you're caught in a negative situation, but you can persuade others, persuade your team to overcome that negative situation. These are all qualities. So, when you structure your answer, you use the STARS method: situation, task, action, result, skills. What was the situation? You start with the situation. What task did you have to do in that situation? What action did you take to accomplish the task? What result did you create? And what skills were you able to take away from that experience? This is the STARS method. I will not speak further about this, not in this session. We'll continue in tomorrow's session. I hope today's session was useful to all of you, and I sincerely hope that you will attend tomorrow's session as well. YouTube channel link, I will try to give you the YouTube channel link. This particular live session will be uploaded shortly. So maybe you could try checking the course forum, where you will find your dashboard, or your course forum, where you will find most of the relevant links. Okay? Thank you everybody for attending today's session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening and have a good rest of the day ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.